Hash a heart worth more than gold. The fluorescent lights hummed softly in the hospital corridor as evening settled over Mercy General. Most of the day shift had already gone home, their footsteps echoing down the hallway one last time before silence took over. Sarah Mitchell adjusted her blue scrubs and checked her watch. 7:30. Her shift had ended an hour ago, but she wasn't ready to leave just yet. Room 314 still had its light on. Sarah had been a nurse for 8 years, long enough to recognize the signs. She'd seen it in countless patients over the years, that particular kind of loneliness that seemed to weigh heavier in the evening hours. Mr. Henderson in 314 had that look. Behind his polite smiles and grateful nods, she could see something deeper. Something that reminded her of her own grandfather in his final years. She knocked gently on the door frame. "Mr. Henderson, mind if I come in?" The elderly man looked up from his hospital bed, surprise flickering across his weathered face. His silver hair was neatly combed despite his week-long stay, and his hospital gown was arranged with the careful dignity of someone who had spent a lifetime presenting himself well to the world. "Sarah, isn't it?" he said, his voice carrying a slight tremor. "Shouldn't you be heading home to your family?" Sarah stepped into the room, noting how he'd barely touched his dinner tray. The television was on, but the volume was turned down so low it might as well have been silent. "No family waiting for me tonight," she said with a gentle smile. "Mind if I sit for a few minutes?" Mr. Henderson's eyes brightened slightly. "I'd like that very much." Sarah pulled the visitor's chair closer to his bed. In the soft lamplight, she could see the careful way he held himself, even while lying down. There was something distinguished about him, though she couldn't quite put her finger on what it was. His hands, she noticed, were soft, not the hands of someone who had worked manual labor. "How are you feeling this evening?" she asked. "Oh, the doctors say I'm healing well. Should be able to go home in a day or two." He paused, looking out the window at the city lights beginning to twinkle in the distance. "Though I'm not sure what exactly I'm going home to." Sarah had read his chart. 82 years old, admitted for a minor heart episode, no emergency contacts listed. "Have you lived in the city long?" 50 years this October, he said, his voice growing softer. "My wife Martha and I moved here when I was 32. We had such plans." He trailed off, his fingers unconsciously twisting the simple gold band on his ring finger. "She passed away 2 years ago this spring." The words came out barely above a whisper. 48 years of marriage, and now the house just echoes. Every room holds a memory, but they all feel so far away now. Sarah felt her heart tighten. She'd seen this before, the kind of grief that doesn't announce itself with tears, but settles into the bones like a deep chill. What was she like? Mr. Henderson's face transformed. The lonely, tired expression gave way to something warmer. Martha was, she was light itself. She could make anyone feel like they mattered. She volunteered at the Children's Hospital every Tuesday for 20 years. Said she wanted to be the bright spot in someone's difficult day. She sounds wonderful. She was. He looked at Sarah with sudden intensity. "You remind me of her, actually. The way you really listen when someone speaks. It's rarer than you might think." They talked for another hour as darkness settled fully outside. Sarah learned that Mr. Henderson had been a businessman, though he was modest about the details. He spoke instead about his love for old movies, his small garden that Martha had helped him plant, and the bird feeder outside his kitchen window that brought him small moments of joy. "I should let you get some rest," Sarah finally said, though she was reluctant to break the peaceful atmosphere they'd created. "Wait, Mr. Henderson said as she started to rise. "I want you to know, this is the first real conversation I've had in months. Since Martha died, people look at me and see someone to pity, or they avoid me altogether. But you see me as a person. That means more than you know." Sarah felt tears prick her eyes. "Everyone deserves to be seen, Mr. Henderson." The next morning, Sarah arrived for her shift to find room 314 empty and cleaned. Mr. Henderson had been discharged early. She felt a pang of disappointment. She'd hoped to say goodbye properly. At the nurse's station, her supervisor Janet called her over. "Sarah, there's someone here to see you." Confused, Sarah walked to the main lobby. There stood Mr. Henderson, looking remarkably different in a tailored navy suit. Beside him was a younger man she didn't recognize. "Sarah," Mr. Henderson said, approaching with a warm smile. "I wanted to thank you again for last night. And I wanted you to meet my attorney, David." "Your attorney?" Sarah was puzzled. Mr. Henderson's eyes twinkled with something that looked almost like mischief. I wasn't entirely forthcoming about my circumstances. You see, Martha and I were blessed in many ways. We built a company together, Henderson Industries. Perhaps you've heard of it. Sarah's eyes widened. Everyone in the city knew Henderson Industries. The name was on buildings, scholarship funds, and hospital wings throughout the region. I've been thinking all morning about what Martha would have wanted me to do, he continued. She always said the measure of wealth isn't what you accumulate, but what you give away. And last night, you gave me something money can't buy, genuine human kindness, with no expectation of return. He reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. I'd like to establish a fund in your name for nurses who go above and beyond. The Martha and Sarah Henderson Fund for Compassionate Care. It will provide support for healthcare workers who show extraordinary kindness to their patients. Sarah stared at the envelope, then back at his kind eyes. Mr. Henderson, I can't accept this. You're not accepting it, he said gently. You're earning it, every night like last night, every patient who needs someone to simply see them as human, that's what this is for. As Sarah held the envelope with trembling hands, she realized the true wealth in the room wasn't the money or the fund. It was the connection between two people who had reminded each other that kindness still existed in the world. Martha would have loved you, Mr. Henderson said softly, and in that moment, Sarah understood that sometimes the richest treasures come disguised as ordinary moments, a conversation in a hospital room, a listening ear, and the simple recognition that everyone, no matter their circumstances, deserves to be seen and valued. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, but the lobby felt warm with possibility. Give me fully trending story.